And the president's son, Hunter Biden, has been indicted on new tax charges in California. He's accused of spending more than $1 million funding a lavish lifestyle instead of paying his taxes. Catherine Herridge has been closely following this story for us, and she joins us now with more on all of this. Catherine, good morning.
Well, good morning, Anne-Marie. According to a letter obtained by CBS News, Hunter Biden's legal team tried to meet with federal prosecutors earlier this week, but the meeting never happened. And when the charges were filed late last night, the special counsel confirmed this investigation is ongoing.
The sprawling indictment brought by special counsel David Weiss alleges Hunter Biden engaged in a 4-year scheme to avoid paying at least $1.4 million in federal taxes.
Hunter Biden is facing very serious charges here.
The president's son is accused of taking false business deductions to reduce his tax liability. The indictment alleges he spent this money on drugs, escorts, and girlfriends, luxury hotels, and exotic cars.
One of the things I think that jumps out from the indictment is that Hunter Biden allegedly knew exactly what he was doing.
In July, at a Delaware court, a plea agreement for lesser charges collapsed over whether the deal would end Hunter Biden's legal problems. 2 months later, felony gun charges were filed in the same courthouse, alleging he lied about his drug use to purchase a gun in 2018. He pleaded not guilty.
The previous plea deal fell apart in part because the judge didn't like that the gun charges were bundled in with the tax charges, and in part because there wasn't a meeting of the minds as to whether or not future charges could come.
The new tax charges were filed in California because he lived there when the alleged crimes were committed. In a statement, Hunter Biden's attorney said, based on the facts and the law, if Hunter's name was anything other than Biden, the charges in Delaware and now California would not have been brought.
This is exactly what Hunter Biden wanted to avoid with the plea deal. He wanted to be able to avoid jail time.
Convicted on all counts, Hunter Biden could face up to 17 years in prison. He's already under subpoena to give closed-door testimony on Capitol Hill next week as part of the House Republican impeachment inquiry into his father. Before the charges, Hunter Biden's attorney said he was willing to appear on the condition the testimony is public. The White House is referring all questions to the Department of Justice. Anne-Marie.
So, Catherine, you were actually in that Delaware courtroom when the plea deal fell apart in the summertime, and it was unexpected. And from what you told us, somewhat heated in that courtroom. Do we know if prosecutors received additional information or something along those lines that led to these new charges?
I think the most important piece of new information came from that plea hearing in Delaware. I was just about 20 feet from the president's son during that multi-hour session. And at one point, the judge asked him to stipulate to a series of facts. And as part of that stipulation, he admitted that when he filed these back tax returns for the years that he was a drug user, at that point, he was already clean and sober, so he had a knowing mind about not paying the tax at this time. And that's actually highlighted here in the indictment. It's page, I have it right here, page 16. It says, notably in 2020, well after he had regained his sobriety and when he finally filed his outstanding 2016, 2017, and 2018 forms, the defendant did not direct any payments towards these outstanding liabilities. So to me, this is the biggest development, the fact that when he allegedly filed these claims that were violations of the criminal law statutes on tax, he was sober at that time, Anne-Marie.
Really interesting. And so if people have been following your excellent reporting, they'll know that you spoke to one of 2 IRS whistleblowers. I want to play some of what he said in July about prosecutors not signing off on pursuing additional leads that involved perhaps the president. Let's listen.
Anytime we potentially wanted to go down the road of asking questions related to the president, it was, that's going to take too much approvals. We can't ask those questions.
It's a politically sensitive case. Wouldn't it require additional approvals?
Yes, I do understand that, but it would be like, well, let's think about it. Let's put that on the back burner, and it would now move down to item number 50.
So as you pointed out earlier, the president consistently has denied any involvement in his son's business dealings, and he doesn't even want to talk about Hunter whenever he's asked about it. But could this filing lead to maybe sort of an even deeper investigation? You said the investigation is ongoing.
Right. Well, we've got two investigations really going on here. There's the criminal track, which is now in California and Delaware, and then we have this track on Capitol Hill. And just this week, case agent Ziegler, as well as his supervisor, Gary Shapley, were back on the Hill for closed-door testimony, and they provided new records, IRS records, which have now become public. And among them are 11 pages of emails that they say investigators found were sent between 2010 and 2019. And the allegation is that they were sent by then Vice President Biden, or when he was out of office, to Hunter and some of his business associates. We don't know the content, but you can see the email traffic.
And then in regards to Hunter Biden, could we see more charges for him?
I think that this indictment, if you read it very carefully, is suggesting in the strongest possible terms that they're looking at violations of something called FARA, which is the Foreign Agents Registration Act. And I say that because I always go back to the documents. Here on page 1, it identifies Hunter Biden as a lawyer, lobbyist, and consultant. And then the following pages, it discusses his work on behalf of the Ukraine energy firm Burisma, also the Chinese energy firm CEFC, and also his deals in Romania. So that tells me, from my experience, that they're looking hard at these foreign registration potential violations. Here in the U.S., if you're working on behalf of foreign interests, there's a transparency requirement, sort of that extra level that you tell the government. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's pretty clear from this indictment that they're looking at it very hard.
Really fascinating stuff. Catherine, thank you so much.
You're welcome.